Welcome to the Alpha Mirror Podcast, the show where we strip away the ego, face the truth, and build the strongest version of you. Hosted by Jason Connor, combat veteran, NLP Master Practitioner, seven-figure business owner, and best-selling author of Parenting Your Inner Child. Welcome to the show.
Welcome back to another episode of the Alpha Mirror. My name is Jason Connor, and I'm your guide. First, want to give a shout out to our amazing sponsors, Connor Insurance Group. Let's give it up for them. Woo! Let's go! All your favorite insurance products right here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. They wanted me to tell you that they're veteran-owned and family-operated. So if you want to get a quote on insurance, please reach out to Connor Insurance Group. You know, before we get started today, today is a sad day. You may or may not know, but a NFL player lost his life today. His name was Marshawn Nealon, 24 years old. Defensive lineman of the Dallas Cowboys. And it's sad because this podcast is exactly what we talk about. This man who just happened to score his first NFL touchdown on Sunday took his life today when he texted his family that he was going to end it and that he was suicidal. And the police found him, and from what the news is saying, a pursuit ensued, and he ultimately took his own life. So if we could just hold space and say a prayer tonight for the Nealon family. Very, very sad. But as far as our episode today, I want to start with this. There was a man who lived on top of a mountain. People traveled for miles and miles to ask this man to heal them. They came to him with broken hearts, addictions, shame, guilt, hurt, anger, fears, and all those same old stories that kept repeating themselves like storms. And this man healed them. He did. Not with magic, but with presence, with questions, with stillness. He was the strongest man that anybody knew, not because he carried the most weight, simply because he carried it alone. So they thought he was strong. But one day, this man realized that the mountain was not a sanctuary. It was a hiding place. And at that very moment, he climbed down, stepping into connection, vulnerability, and truth. Was the moment his power wasn't just something he used. It became something he shared. Because a healed man, listen to this, a healed man does not just heal himself. A healed man becomes a doorway for others to walk through. So the real question isn't, can we be healed? We all can be healed. We know that. The real question is, what are we holding on to? Because we believe we're supposed to carry it. Let me say that again. What are we still holding on to? Because we believe we're supposed to carry it. My question is, who taught us that? So stay with us, because today we're going to break that story wide open. The story that trapped you, of the armor that kept you surviving, not living, but surviving. And what I just said kept you from living. Right? With that said, I have a very special guest today. And there is no intro in the world that can make it suffice for who I have today. But he is not just a friend, a brother, somebody I take one for, and not just a coach. He is somebody who walks men back to themselves. He's the founder of the GP Mind Growth Academy, NLP trainer, a father, a husband, a businessman, a best-selling author, a fire-walking instructor that puts on amazing events. And this man just isn't here to tell you who to be. He's here to show you who you already are.
Let's go.
Underneath the weight the expectations, and the story that you inherited. With no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Greg Pihs. How you doing, brother?
Oh, dude, I'm excited to be on here. I'm doing good. I'm proud of you in launching this podcast and bringing light to these conversations. You know, we're not the first ones having these conversations, but they're hidden in pockets. And, you know, this podcast and really even this platform, Spreading the Positive, is really about sharing that message so people like you guys can receive it. Yeah, man, I'm proud of you. I'm excited and honored to be on today.
Yeah, I mean, I am super honored for you to be here. For those of you listening and watching, if you know the story, as you should, but maybe you don't, Greg was the one that I connected with through my journey, who led me from a place of care that nobody's ever led me from a place of compassion. And my story, much like everybody else's, mine was going, what's the word I don't want to look at? The path to healing failed me multiple times because I was seeing the psychologist, the psychotherapist. Here's some money. You're disabled now. Here's some drugs. That doesn't fix the problem. My problem was I needed somebody that has walked what I walked in terms of combat scenarios, the anger, right? Just being misaligned and not knowing who our truth is. And that's what Greg did for me. I have gone through all of the levels of the GP Mind Growth Academy, getting certified in NLP and getting my Master Practitioner in NLP, as well as timeline therapy. But it all came from this man. And this man is not just doing it with me. He's doing it with everybody that he literally comes in contact with, that I'm super proud of. So proud to have you here. You know, and having you here fits well because I consider you an alpha male, right? I mean, if you consider yourself an alpha male, and you know, we have the same military. I wouldn't say the same military, but we both have military experiences that helped shaped us and gave us some struggles and things that we had to overcome. So I want to open with this for you, just because you are so well versed and knowledgeable, really, in this area. Again, as a best-selling author of his book, Power in the Pain. When we describe alpha behavior patterns, what would you say the difference is between a man who is leading versus a man who's just protecting himself?
That's a real good question. And I mean, it's a deep question. Let's dive in. What is that difference in a man that is leading himself versus just protecting himself? Because everyone is looking for, at some level, like we're all instinctually looking for protection, but not all of us then go out and look to take on others and lead. And I think the root differentiator, if you will, would be the values of the person. And it gets to be a bit of a deep question because, like, when we say the values of the person, then we can possibly allude to, so was person A just born with a set of values and person B was born with a different set? And then so is A not capable of what B is doing and is B not capable of A? And I would say that is all not accurate or not true. Our values are formed by our experiences that we have. And then we have expressive values and we have sacrificial values. But all of these values are geared towards protection. Mm-hmm. The sacrificial values are a little bit more like, let's huddle together for protection. Mm-hmm. Whereas those expressive values are like, let's go see what else, like, what other resources can we acquire? What else is available? Is there a better position? Right. Expressive. So I believe, I would suggest that the truth is both are fighting their own, it's like the same battle with a different map. Yet specifically on this podcast, we're talking to that male that has those expressive values. Mm-hmm. We're talking to that male that has that desire to lead, to impact, to share, to influence, to be upfront, to be seen, to be heard. That's that alpha personality. And again, inside, it's insider. I think it really initiates, like we're, what we call an alpha, really initiates on our values, which are based on our experiences. And then we look at, okay, so that's how A and B got formed. Is B stuck that way? Is A stuck that way? And no, neither side is. We form these values unconsciously from experiences we have, and then we have an opportunity in life. Yeah, to go back and really start reviewing, what did I write? What did I accept? Like, they were formed. You might have had, like, two brothers could have the same experience, and one could write sacrificial values at an unconscious level, and one could write expressive. So then the experience didn't equate equally. Yeah. Like, internally, they processed it a little bit differently. But later on, they could go back and reprocess it differently again.
You brought up a lot of great points, and I actually had like 3 or 4 follow questions for you, and you actually went ahead and knocked all of them out. Yeah. Let's quiet the phones while we're recording. Last time here, Holly came. I know you can edit this out, right? Yeah. Holly came and just started pounding on his door.
That's right. You told me.
But so you brought up a lot of good points. So let's go back to the values, because a lot of people reject this if you don't believe this. I personally feel people don't understand their values. No. They don't understand their beliefs. They don't understand their behaviors. This is just who I am. Yeah. This is how God made me. Yeah. Right. So if we go back to the values that we know that are instilled with us by the people that raised us, or by the people we were around between age 0 and age 7. So they're protecting you in their version of protections of what protection meant to them, and instill that down to us. But you brought up that point where you say you get the opportunity to go back and recheck those values once you start making decisions for yourself. And your values determine your beliefs, and your beliefs determine your behaviors, right? Yep. So like you said, me and my brother, we had this pretty much the same experiences growing up. But if you ask him about his childhood and me about my childhood, you're going to get 2 different stories. I became the outcast, which everybody does when you start challenging the values. You're not listening to us. You don't know what's good for you. We've lived this life. You just got to listen to us. But it's my life, Right. So a lot of good points. Why do you think, though, that, like, just off the top of your head, like, men or women don't ever go back and check that? Do you think it's just because they're scared to relive that trauma? They just say, fuck it, this is who I am? Like, what would you say to that?
Well, it's I think my first response would be, we don't even know that we can. Yeah. However, so there's a lot of people that's the truth for them. And, like, if you're hearing this for the first time, like, start going down the rabbit hole. You are capable of so much. You are so powerful. And I mean that in the definitions of those words. So a lot of people is lack of awareness, because I can remember a time on my journey when I really wanted it bad and I didn't know what to do. I really was confused. So a lack of clarity, a lack of wisdom, a lack of knowledge. However, if we look at people or civilization as a whole, if you will, plenty of people were made aware and still chose not to go. So then we couldn't say it's all lack of knowledge. But for those that are, I remember a time in my journey where it was really like I want to know and I'm not sure, and I have desire, I want something better, and what is it? And I didn't know. And once I started learning, I was like, yeah, there's power in knowledge. Later on, I came to realize there's power in applied knowledge. So I guess maybe the question would be, what do I think is holding back the people that we're made aware, I think this is my projection here. I think once we're made aware of that, like, hey, I can go back and change all this, to accept that reality is to accept that we've been making it happen the whole time the way it's been happening. Mm. And so I think it's like, because again, thinking back on my journey, like digesting that can be a hard pill to swallow. Like just on the other side is total empowerment. But that can be like, if all of a sudden you're like, hey, no. Like, you can go back, you can completely change who you are, you can design your life. To do that means I have to take total control, total responsibility. I have to be accountable, responsible. It just seems so heavy, I think, for a lot of people that they're not aware of, or maybe don't have the belief yet. Like, man, just on the other side, and I don't, like, it happens quick. You start realizing all of, like, it's, the power is almost intoxicating on the other side of deciding I'm going to take responsibility for my life. But right before that decision, that I think that responsibility can seem overwhelming.
We both know it's very overwhelming, but we both know it's very exciting, right? You know, I just saw a friend, she moved to, I believe, South Dakota for work or something. I was like, oh, interesting place, but, I personally never been there. But she was so happy. She's like, new city, new sites, new foods, new bars, blah, blah. And I'm just like, let's flip that change in your life. The new views, the new relationships, the new boundaries, the new, no, I'm not going to go, and really finding your people. And I just wish, like, that change seems to be easy for people. Like, oh, I'm going to a new city, blah, 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 blah. But what about, like, your problems are still going to be there. Like I said, trauma doesn't work on a clock. It works on a loop.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, you could live in Hawaii on the beach and you're still going to have those internal struggles, right?
And we can fool ourselves into thinking, like, if I could just get away from or rid of my problems, then I would be able to. All of your gifts, all of your power, all of your learnings, all of your everything you need, your power is in all of your problems, all of your past. Like, you do not actually want to get away from it. But our mind can fool us into believing, like, if I could just get rid of my problems, then I'd be good to go.
Right.
We'd be good to go to collect new ones because of that loop.
Very much so. And they're going to keep coming. So that leads to my next point. So, people are ready and they're ready to change their lives and just ready to look at it from a different lens. I know for me, I started with Step Into Your Power, right? Which, for those of you who don't know, it's a $99 event. It's for 12 hours that Greg hosted with his team, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Typically, you do a lot of really immersive events during the day, physical activities, classroom instruction, if you will, coaching, right, for a better word, and then you end it with a fire walk. And I remember the very first time I was like, you want me to do what?
Right.
You want me to take off my socks and shoes and walk across an 8-foot bed of 1,200 degree coals?
Yeah.
And I was like, this fire is like one of those little Amish electric heaters. It ain't real. And then I stood next to the fire. Holy, no, this was real. So obviously I walked that and that got me on my course. And it was the most amazing experience ever. You don't get burned. You don't get hurt. Trust me, it is very, very magical. Why do you think that's so impactful? You lead this event. You're the creator of it, like fire walking instructor. Why or how is that so powerful when people decide, like, the fire, what is Step Into Your Power, like, in relation to overcoming the stuff that they're ready to set down?
Yeah, dude, I love it. I love the question. So I'm going to use this saying, I'm a reference as above, so below. I'll reference that a few times, if we will. And so we're doing symbolic healing. And as you're very aware, the unconscious mind, our mind is very symbolic in nature. So we have, as far as I'm aware, we're the only living thing with consciousness. So plants are alive, animals are alive, there's single cell organisms that are alive, and they all have an energy force. They all have the ability to make decisions. Like the plants have an ability, like, I know some people are like, Greg, some people are like, I get it. Some people are like, Greg, my wife raises, she grows orchids. She got into this, I don't know, it's, we're not there yet, but we're like, got to be like getting close to the realm of like 10 years now. And she used to not know how to do it. And I don't know, she like learned, she did some research, and she kept this orchid alive for years. And then next thing you know, it became 2 and 5. And okay, we got a bunch of orchids. So they're by the back door, and the sun comes up. Our house, the back of our house face east, the front of our house face west. So in the morning, the sun comes right through that back door. And these orchids will grow smack into the dang door to get closer to the sun. So Trina will rotate them, and they'll rotate back to the door. Obviously, they're not moving their potter, the plant. The plant went this way. That was a decision. Okay. But as far as we know, so like an animal, like it comes to a split in the road. It could go left or it could go right. And that split in the road doesn't definitively, like, it was not written on their instinct to know that it's always left or always right. They could go either way. So living things can make decisions, but we have consciousness. Okay, then what is different about that than, say, a plant or an animal? We have an awareness of ourself. So I can realize right now that I'm thinking how I want to say this to you while I'm thinking how I want to say this to you. I'm aware of myself thinking about this, and I can pause and tell myself, hold on. You want to say this a little bit differently. Almost as if there was 2. We're just one. Because we have this consciousness, we are able to then review and audit our experience and guide ourselves from a higher state that's not associated with the 3D world. Okay, imagine if for those that are in alignment with me, we have a soul, right? So imagine our consciousness, imagine that's our soul. Just imagine for a moment. So that's what's talking to us or being aware of us. It's our soul being aware of us. Inside of our body, we don't quite pay attention to it, so we don't realize it's this craziest like paradox, if you will. It's like we're drunk in our body. And so what I mean is we are just nonstop reacting. We live unconsciously. We have access to consciousness in which we can then evaluate our behavior, our action. But without separating and evaluating ourselves, without becoming the observer or becoming conscious of ourselves, we are no different than an animal instinctually reacting. You have to forgive me. Do you recall the literal question you had asked me? I got to talk in there. Yeah.
All that was great, and I know a lot of people will completely understand what you were saying. But take us back to like when they're ready for change, they're ready to let go. For me, I started with step into your power and come into a fire walk. Like, what is your goal? You know, with the participants coming, like, tell everybody. We have thousands of subscribers listening. Tell everybody like what you gain from that, why they should come in, how this all ties back into releasing that alpha. And don't get me wrong, Greg gets men and women at these events, and we are talking about men and women. We reference men a lot just because we're alphas, and that's where, you know, the male figure comes from, but women as well. Like, what can they expect? Why should they come? And how does that all tie in?
Yeah. Thank you. That was, good. I'm glad you kept us on track there. So what we're doing at Step Into Your Power is symbolic healing. So what I mean by symbolic healing is we have a deep journey to go on if we choose to, of healing all the things. And okay, in 12 hours, we're not going to heal all of the things.
Yeah.
But I wanted to create an experience that was going to have as much of an impact as humanly possible inside of those 12 hours. Well, when you're showing up at this event, it might be, for plenty of people, your first time meeting me. How deep can we go? How comfortable, how vulnerable are you willing to be inside of this room? I mean, you're committed. You don't even know who else is going to be in that room with you. There's different energies. Okay, I say all that to say, when we are in our body operating this physical world, we're highly unconscious. We're just operating off of autopilot, off of instinct.
Right.
Okay, so if you will, kind of like a computer, if this, then that. So we have this inside of our body. What I mean by inside of our body, so not when we are aware, not when we are being the observer of self, but when we're living in the moment. We have all of these instinctual codes written, much like a computer, if this, then that. Well, through NLP, I started to learn all these neurological codings, all these if this, then that's. And there's a ton, like it was a deep, deep rabbit hole, of course. Okay, when you come to this event, we are doing symbolic healing that means something for you. I facilitate an experience where you become the observer. I facilitated an experience where you become conscious of self. In that state of higher self, you can give yourself whatever it is you need to work through that day.
Yeah.
The catch with these elements or exercises like firewalking is you can symbolically attach it to your walk, and nobody in the room even needs to know what's happening inside of your model of the world.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect. And I could definitely, as somebody who's been through these events multiple times, that is perfectly said. Thank you. You know, for me, it all comes back to language, right? We talk about NLP and all the modalities of NLP. And for those of you who haven't heard of Greg before or haven't seen him, I mean, nobody understands the language of the mind better than this guy. That is a hardcore fact, okay? He understands the patterns that shape identity.
Yeah.
You understand how to break cycles that have been running in men for generations. With that said, what role do you feel language plays in keeping trauma alive? And what I'm saying is, like, how does the way we describe our past actually recreate it in the present?
This is good.
I told you I did my homework for this. I came prepared.
Good. This is huge. So the meaning of an experience it's conveyed through our thoughts, which are just the words we're saying to ourselves inside of our head, our internal dialogue. The meaning of the experience that takes place outside does not have inherent value or inherent meaning. So when it comes in, if I walked up to you and I said, here's a pencil, you could have any reaction. You could say thank you. You could say get out of here. Whatever your reaction is, the thought has to cross your mind. What is he doing, or what's going on? Like, what is he giving me this pencil for? The pencil itself doesn't inherently have meaning. I would have to give it to the meaning, and you give it meaning, and you would have to adopt it, or you would have to apply a meaning and then accept the pencil. But the pencil has no meaning outside of it. So we have an experience. Now, I want to hold compassion and empathy for those who have been through traumatic, rough, traumatizing experiences. I want to hold space for you, and I want you to know that you're bigger than that experience. What is traumatizing? Like, if you're sure that that experience was traumatizing, like, we can talk about the experience as how you experienced it traumatically, but traumatizing, when we talk about language, traumatizing, it suggests to our neurology that we are still in the state of the trauma. So we feel still in the state of the trauma. My childhood, I genuinely did not believe that I could do what I'm doing today, but to the point where when people would try to speak life into me, I remember, like, so many people, so many times, like, we would get done the argument, and I thought I won the argument, trying to convince, like, I'm like, I really thought, like, they didn't understand. If I could get them to understand, then they would give me more, I could be more of a victim, if you will. I wasn't consciously thinking this, but people would say, oh, you can do it. You know, you have so much potential. You're this, you're that. And I would, no, you don't understand what happened to me. No, I can't do that because this. I can't do that because of this. Well, now, that same childhood, the experience didn't change, lets me get in rooms that I wouldn't have been able to get into without that childhood.
Yep. Okay.
So my childhood now, the meaning of my childhood, the story I talk about when I talk about my childhood is serving others. Whereas once upon a time, the story I told about my childhood was how I was cut short in comparison to what everyone else had. It's not just pretending that it wasn't a bad experience, yet it truly is about going through the experience and learning how it serves you today. And then you will you won't need to do a thing to believe that new story. You'll be so empowered by that new story. I'm so empowered to be here and share today because of my childhood. I didn't just pick a new story and tell myself, I'm going to believe this one. This one sounds cuter. As I went through and looked at, like, how does this strengthen me? Oh, I can hold space for people. I have compassion. I have empathy. I have discipline. What I share, like what I do for other men is like, I can't know your journey, but I went to dark enough places. Like the conversation is not going to get too uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
And so, like, now that has purpose and meaning, but it's because I went back and really looked at my story from as many other perspectives as it took for me to see gifts inside of the experience.
That's amazing. That's why you call it the book, The Power and the Pain.
That's it, man.
The Power and the Pain. Greg's story is phenomenal. You can follow Greg on his podcast and read his book, The Power and the Pain, that you can find on Amazon and read about it. But absolutely incredible. And I'm just honored to be here with them and just be such amazing brothers that we are. Everybody has some sort of trauma. We know that. Yeah. If you're old enough to walk and talk, you have some sort of trauma. Whether you're directly impacted or indirectly, and all it's not because our stories match, it's because our pain does, right? Which is why we're all in this journey together. And we feel like, I think, my opinion is that you come to a point as a man or a woman, you say, I'm ready. Yeah. Like, I'm ready to drop this. It's no longer serving me. Like for you, like, not only do you drop it, you completely flipped the script on it. And now, you're using your story to give back. I would not be here. I've said plenty of times, it's not the first time Greg's hearing this, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Greg. I was on my way out. I was committed. I failed 7 times. I'm obviously not good at it. Hate to ruin the ending for you. That's one of your lines. But if I didn't find him, I'm gone. I'm gone. So I can't state enough, like, what this means. But when a man or a woman is ready, like, what do you think some internal signals are of readiness, because I know out of the thousands of subscribers that we have watching right now that somebody's ready, or they're asking themselves, am I ready? Or how do I know I'm ready? What to do when I'm ready? So like, I can tell you internal signals, but you know, you're the guest, you're the man, you are very well versed in this. What do you think some internal? Let's have a conversation about that.
Dude,
Besides writing the check.
You know what the internal signals are? Every one of the sentences you said a second ago.
Yeah.
So how about this? Like, how do I know I'm ready? That's your internal signal. Why are you asking that question?
You're already questioning it.
Why are you even okay?
Yeah.
How do I get ready? What do I do because I think I'm ready? These are like your internal signals are desire for something. Like if something is pulling on you saying like, there's got to be something more. There's no way that I am just limited and stuck to this life. When you feel that inside, you are ready. Now, I like a quote that I recently discovered. Those that are seeking truth should continue to seek until they find. And when they find, they will be disturbed. And after they are disturbed, they will marvel. So that's a quote that I've recently learned.
And say that again.
Those that are seeking truth.
Yep.
So the moment you're saying, how do I know I am ready? You are seeking the truth to know
Correct.
how you, okay. So the moment that happens, you are seeking the truth. If you are seeking the truth, you must continue to seek until you find, and let me break that down for a moment. There's an opportunity for you to stumble across, what label do we use? False leaders?
Time.
People that like maybe they mean well, maybe they're malicious, but that are going to sell you the world and not lead you. It's possible. You do not have to, but it's possible. If you go out seeking the truth and you find out it gets to a dead end, that has nothing to do with the fact that the truth still exists.
Correct.
So those that are seeking truth must continue seeking until they find it. When you find it, you will be disturbed. I can't tell you exactly what that means for you, but metaphorically, it is different. The truth looks vastly different than everything you know to be true right now, or you would have a very close version of the truth.
Oh.
Because it's going to look so different, it's going to be hard to digest on the first day.
That's impossible. Yeah.
As long as you continue to digest,
Right.
then you'll marvel in the truth, in the experience. Yeah.
You know, and what I'm saying is like when we first started doing the work and actually doing like the work where like we're going through quantum and everything, like I mean, we're like opening my eyes, peeking at them, like, you know, because like it's you're trying to digest this and you're like, is this shit real? Like this sounds very like not real. I don't want to use the word fake, but once you start doing it and then things start happening in your life and you see this unicorn, I mean, it's like full on. I think that's why I remember you telling the story when you first started NLP and you finished it. Like, I think you were in Florida, if I'm not mistaken. You stayed and immediately went into Master Prac, right? You call a trainer, you're like, hey, I'm staying. Like, I need more of this, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's like when you start going through this, you know. Like I tell everybody, Greg knows this too. You get certified at NLP, like you cannot not get master. Because you're like, fucking give it to me.
It's funny too. Now, by the way, those hearing about NLP for the first time, if you already know what it is, you know it's powerful. GP Mind Growth Academy, I do certifications through this. Those that are, what is NLP? Neuro-Linguistic Programming. It's a study in psychology is what I'll offer. Powerful information, deep information. And with that being said, NLP is just a compilation of information. There's nothing more than that, just a compilation of information. Now, with that, it has led me closer to the truth. Okay, for those that you know my story, for those that have heard my story before, when I first start learning NLP, it's a 9-day training, 2 days in. I thought they duped me.
Right, I remember that.
Okay. When you find the truth, you will be disturbed.
Yep.
So disturbed, I was ready to pack up and go home on day 2.
I remember that. You called Trina, right?
I did. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm ready to go. Now, obviously, I stayed through that. Those that stay through the disturbance of the truth will then marvel. And I began to marvel at what was possible.
The disturbance of the truth. I love that.
Man. So now, for everyone out there, like, NLP is not the finite truth. It was just a next layer for me on that journey.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, like, it was a layer of truth for me, and it like totally disturbed me at first, like almost rejected it. Disturbed me so much. And as I allowed myself to go through it, then it was like, oh my gosh, I want to immerse in this.
Yeah. You know, I totally relate to that, because when I first started this work and we were trying to focus on like the silence and just like yourself and block out all the outside noise, I was very disturbed by the silence, because we're not programmed to sit in silence. You sit in silence and the truth starts coming at you. Disturb is putting it lightly. Like, it scares the living shit out of you.
Yeah.
You know, that's one thing I love about this podcast. We can cuss.
Yeah.
You know, so feel free. I mean, honestly, we're talking about truths, right? So the only way to make it hit home is like, we're not beating around the bush here. But thank you for that. So I want to close with this question. I'm going to turn it back over to you for anything. You talk about NLP, Neuro-Linguistics Programming. One thing that we learned in the Master Practitioner course, which I feel is very valuable, is quantum linguistics.
Yeah.
You talk about NLP and quantum linguistics, about how it helps shifting identity through language, right? We mentioned that a little bit before. Can you just walk us through how a man or a woman can speak to themselves in a way that moves them forward instead of reinforcing the past?
Great question.
Thank you.
Let's go with, so quantum linguistics. So we want to leave, I think this is what you're asking for. And this is definitely what I feel called to, as we're wrapping this up. Like, let's give the listeners something pretty pragmatic that they can kind of put their hands on and say,
That's
okay.
why I saved it for last.
Okay, good. Now, because we're talking about quantum linguistics, okay, quantum is like anything and everything is always and never possible. So holy smokes, and we got to put that into pragmatic. Let's do it. When we talk about quantum linguistics, we are using our words to alter the experience. Okay. There's two things that I'll share with you guys today that you can easily take and just start trying out. Just see if they work for you. They might not work. Collect your feedback. Let us know. You can alter the spatial or temporal presuppositions in your language. What does all that mean? I'll break it down real simple. Time and space. So there's a trolley paradox. If you don't mind, I'll guide the listeners through this. Let me ask you a question, if you will.
Yeah.
If there was, it's referred to as a trolley paradox. It's shared in psychology a lot. If there was a trolley car coming down a rail, and up ahead, you can see the trolley coming, and up ahead there's 4 people stuck on the track. So this trolley will collide, and it would end all 4 of these people. Right next to you is a lever, and you can pull this lever. And if you pull this lever, it's going to divert the trolley to a different track before it gets to these 4. On that track, there is 1 person that's stuck on the track. Do you pull the lever? You don't even need to answer that if you don't want, but do you pull the lever?
I mean, we don't hide anything on this show, right?
Okay.
I mean, I off the top of my head, like I don't want anybody to get hurt or get killed, but I mean, if there was a way to put me out there, I'd rather do that, and save them. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question, 4 versus 1. Yeah.
I
pull the lever.
For what it's worth, like when I was first presented this, my knee-jerk reaction was no questions asked. I can save 3 lives.
Yeah.
That was my thought, as a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
Okay. Same trolley, same track. This time there's no lever. There's no separate rail. There's a large person standing right there. You can push them in front of the trolley. That person will die. The trolley will not make it to the other four. Do you push that person?
Knee jerk, yes.
Okay. Okay. Most people will say, now when I heard that, I was like, oh no, I'm not pushing that guy. Like,
I'm waiting for the follow up. No.
Well, no. That's the end. That's the end of the whole paradox. Most people as a knee jerk reaction are gonna say, well, I'm not gonna push that guy. Now, we may have been conditioned because I talked about, well, it's 3
I
for
assume
1.
something has to happen. He has to be pushed, or the four get taken
Or the
out.
other four are gonna get taken out.
Yeah, you getting pushed, brother.
Most people would react if you go out and ask that.
Yeah.
It's called the trolley paradox. Most people will say, no, I'm not going to push that guy. My knee jerk reaction was like, no, I'm not going to push that guy. Then it gets presented. Now I kind of went ahead and so I may have preconditioned it. But then it gets presented and we start realizing most people will say like, no, I'm not going to push that guy under the track. Like, man, like push that guy under the track. And why not? Well, because like, man, I would be killing that guy.
That's what I just thought of.
Well, the other side of the equation is you're killing the one guy over there. And check this out. My physical exertion of energy. It is this, ready? So lever, or it is this with a push. My physical exertion of energy is almost the same. If the person is spatially further away from me, the problem is easier to take action on. If the problem was so close I could make physical contact, most people wouldn't even take action.
No,
Generally speaking, and listeners, you can go ask other people in this. Okay, so if the problem feels very close to us, then the emotions will be greatly enhanced. If it feels close to us in space or in time. So space is proximity, or time, if we were on a timeline, how far away is it in the past or how far away is in the future, or if it's right now. We can alter the way we perceive a problem in time or in space.
correct.
Okay? And this alters the way we feel about the problem. So it's not, this isn't deep healing, everyone. But what we're doing is like pulling the stinger out so we can get our consciousness back. So, what would you think about that problem in a week from now? In a month from now? In a year from now? What would you think about that problem in 20 years from now? What would you think about that problem in 35 years from now? Now, you could say, yeah, but I have the problem now. Look, I didn't say you didn't. I never said you didn't. All I'm suggesting is, would you just go to 35 years from now and just look at what you would think of the problem? You're going to see it from a different perspective. That perspective has less of a stinger in it.
Let's go.
You're going to experience more. Could you imagine that the problem was, if for those of us right now, we're in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, could you imagine that the problem was in Bonacqua?
Sure.
Could you imagine that the problem was in Jackson, Tennessee? How about Memphis, Tennessee? How about Mississippi? How about Oklahoma? How about all the way over in California? How about imagining the problem is all the way on the other side of the globe? But Greg, the problem's right here, right now. I know. Could you just allow yourself to go to that perspective and look at what you can see from that problem? Now, how do I get to that perspective? Well, just linguistically talk to yourself from a place further away, or a place in the past, or a place in the future. And so this is what we're doing with quantum linguistics. So the two pieces I'm going to give you is look at your problem literally in another city, in another state, in another country if you have to. Just park it there. You're not going to lose it. You know as well as I know your problem's right in front of you. You can't lose it. Just park it there and view the perspective. or move it further out on your timeline, park it there, and just view the perspective. You're not going to lose your problem. You know, like I know, it's really in front of you.
Love it. You should charge for that. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
One thing I want to go back before we close it up is you had mentioned collect your feedback, and I'm not sure the listeners really understand that. In life, Greg taught me, teaches everybody, that there's no failures. Failures has a bad connotation. We know that. It means like, oh, we did something bad. We were wrong. We collect our feedback. Collect your feedback. What worked? What didn't work? Send it back downrange. Try it again. Collect your feedback and just keep fine-tuning that process. I just wanted to hit that. Before I wrap it up, any closing words for our listeners about yourself, about the academy, about life, about how much of a Titans fan you are, and you know all the players? Like, what's going on in your mind?
So I'm pretty much like, if the Titans are looking for like an all-star fan,
It's Greg
so
Pihs.
I know everything there is to know about the Titans. I know all their stats. I know how many hole-in-ones, how many hat tricks.
Hole-in-ones and hat tricks. Yeah, they were pretty good.
I had to dig deep to even come up with those two sports terms.
I mean, I was going to ask you who the linebackers are, but I know you know that. So
I know you know.
yeah.
Oh man, let me leave everyone with this. Was it? Yeah, it was Edison. I was like, who was that guy's name that played with electricity? There's all kinds of quotes from him, and someone said something. I don't know what the actual number was that day, but you failed 10,000 times to figure out how to build a light bulb, and he said, no, I just learned 10,000 ways that it doesn't work, which puts me that much closer. When we look at failure as feedback, it's not just a cliche saying we're doing in our head. We're turning it into feedback by learning something. Like, how close was Edison to the light bulb when he knew 10,000 things that absolutely couldn't be it? He was close enough that we have the lights on right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, you did it. Yay. Dude, thank you for having me on and for sharing this message and impacting in this way.
Been a pleasure. Next Step Into Your Power,
November 15th. That's going to be our last one for 2025. Thepowerinthepain.com /SIYP, $99 money back guarantee.
One more time, website?
Yeah, website. I did pattern enter up there. Powerinthepain.com /SIYP.
Listen, it's $99 event. All you have to do is show up. On behalf of Connor Insurance Group, our sponsor, and the podcast and myself, we are paying that to GP Mind Growth Academy. So if you're in Middle Tennessee, can get to Middle Tennessee on November the 15th from 9 to 9?
9 to 9, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. You'll go to powerinthepain.com /SIYP at checkout. Make sure let me see your code.
Use the code
CIG at checkout. That's going to give you that CIG is sponsoring your ticket if you use code CIG at checkout.
You don't have to pay anything. You just have to show up, and I promise you, and I don't make many promises because I don't like to put my name out there for too many things, but I promise you it'll change your life. I want to close with this. So if you've listened to this today and you felt something move inside you, even if you can't explain it, just pay attention to that. Because healing doesn't start when we get over it. Healing simply begins in the exact precise moment we realize we don't have to keep carrying it. Because every man and woman reaches a point where survival is no longer enough. We know that to be factual. Where strength can't just mean endurance anymore.
Let's go.
The masks get too heavy. Trust me, I've worn them for years. The armor gets too heavy. I've worn it for years. The silence gets too loud, but there is another way. Because a man or a woman, like I said, we use men a lot because we're referring to the alpha mirror, is simply not defined by what happened to you. And I know we talked earlier, men and women, what happened to you was not your fault. You didn't deserve any of that.
That's right.
But it is your responsibility now to go back and address those moments so we can live the life that we are meant to live. So if anything about today stirs you, don't let it fade when this episode ends. Talk about it, write about it, sit with it, bring it into the light, because freedom doesn't come from fighting harder. We know that, right? Doesn't come from fighting harder. Freedom comes from finally letting go.
Let's go.
They talk about the lose weight. The weight, really, well, I go back and say the weight I needed to lose, that said it wasn't on my body. I mean, it wasn't my body. So I was wearing the mask in the armor. But when you finally shed that, I mean, it's like when Holly shaves my back or something, you know, it's just like 40 pounds lighter, you know what I'm saying? But no, it comes from letting it go, okay? And when you let it go, your sons will feel it, your spouse feels it, your friends, your future feels it. Because a healed man changes the lives he touches. And I believe that healed man or woman is you.
Let's go.
I'm Jason Connor, and this is the Alpha Mirror.
Thank you for listening to the Alpha Mirror podcast. Remember, the mirror never lies. It reflects the man you choose to become. So this week, ask yourself, what will my reflection say about me? Be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. Join me on this journey to redefine what it means to be an alpha. Until next time, keep facing the mirror, because that's where the alpha is born.